Welcome to Hey How You Doing podcast, the podcast where we dive into global affairs, economics and power shifts in the modern world. Today, we're asking a compelling question. Has India surprised Canada on the world stage? We'll also explore where both countries stand economically, their top 5 accomplishments in the past 8 years, and which nation holds more influence on the global scene. Let's start with the numbers. India, with its massive population of 1.4 billion people, has rapidly ascended the economic ladder. As of 2025, India is the world's 5th largest economy by nominal GDP, surpassing the UK and growing at an impressive rate of around 6 to 7% annually. Key drivers include technology, manufacturing, and a booming service sector. Canada, on the other hand, ranks among the top 10 global economies, boasting a high per capita GDP and a strong resource-based economy. While its growth is stable at around 1 to 3% per year, Canada's reliance on commodities like oil and minerals means it's more susceptible to market fluctuations. So, while both nations are economic powerhouses in their own right, India's growth trajectory is significantly faster. Now, let's look at India's major accomplishments in the last 8 years: digital transformation and UPI expansion. India revolutionized its digital economy with UPI, making cashless transactions widely accessible even in rural areas. Chandrayaan-3 and space achievements. India successfully landed on the moon's south pole, marking a historic moment in space exploration. Manufacturing boom and make in India. Apple, Tesla and other global companies expanded their operations in India, boosting domestic production. Geopolitical influence, including the G20 presidency. India hosted the G20 summit, strengthening its diplomatic clout on the global stage. Defense and strategic alliances strengthened ties with the US, Russia and Quad nations, boosting its defense capabilities. Canada has also made significant strides in recent years. Here are its top 5 achievements. Climate leadership and green energy. Push Canada has led global efforts in green energy, investing heavily in hydrogen and renewables, economic recovery post-pandemic. With strong fiscal policies, Canada bounced back from COVID-19, maintaining a low unemployment rate. Tech and AI advancements. Toronto and Vancouver emerged as global AI hubs, attracting top talent and investment. Trade expansion and USMCA agreements strengthened trade ties with the United States and Mexico, ensuring economic stability. Immigration policy success. Canada remains a leader in immigration, attracting skilled workers from around the world. Influence on the world stage comes down to 3 key factors: economy, diplomacy and global presence. India's fast-growing economy, large population and increasing role in global governance like G20, BRICS and Quad have elevated its standing. Meanwhile, Canada is a trusted diplomatic player, a G7 member and a key NATO ally. But it lacks India's scale and geopolitical pull. If we look at soft power, Canada leads in quality of life, education and cultural influence. However, India's vast diaspora, tech exports and growing assertiveness in global affairs make it a rising power. Looking at the top 5 accomplishments of each country, let's determine which country has made a greater impact on society. India's accomplishments and societal impact are noteworthy. The digital transformation and UPI expansion have had a strong positive impact, making financial transactions accessible to millions, reducing corruption and improving financial inclusion. Chandrayaan-3 and space achievements are inspirational for scientific progress and national pride, but direct societal benefits are well limited. The manufacturing boom and the Make in India initiative have created jobs and economic growth, improving livelihoods for millions. Geopolitical influence, like holding the G20 presidency, boosts prestige but has limited direct impact on daily lives. Defence and strategic alliances strengthen national security but have less direct impact on citizens' well-being. Canada's accomplishments and societal impact are equally significant. Climate leadership and the green energy push directly benefit global and local communities by promoting sustainability and reducing pollution. Economic recovery post-pandemic has stabilized jobs and public services, significantly benefiting citizens. Tech and AI advancements create high-paying jobs and innovation, but primarily benefit skilled workers. Trade expansion and the USMCA agreement strengthen economic security but have indirect effects on daily life. Immigration policy success directly enhances societal diversity, economic growth, and labor market stability. Which country excels in societal impact? India excels in economic empowerment, like digital payments and job creation, and national pride through space exploration. Canada excels in sustainability, public welfare, and social inclusion through climate leadership, economic stability, and immigration. The verdict? Canada's accomplishments have a stronger direct impact on societal well-being, improving daily life through sustainability, job stability, and inclusivity. India's achievements drive long-term economic growth and national influence, but have a more indirect impact on everyday societal benefits. Does India have its own car manufacturer? Yes, India has its own car manufacturers. The most notable ones include Tata Motors, one of the largest Indian automakers, producing everything from economy cars like the Tata Tiago to luxury vehicles as it owns Jaguar and Land Rover. Mahindra & Mahindra specializes in SUVs and electric vehicles. Maruti Suzuki, though originally a government-owned company, is now majority-owned by Suzuki but still operates as an Indian brand. Why does India have car manufacturers? Well, the large domestic market, with 1.4 billion people, creates a massive demand for affordable cars. Government support, through initiatives like Make in India and high import duties, encourages local manufacturing. Additionally, India has a strong industrial base, with a well-developed automotive industry that has global reach. Does Canada have its own car manufacturer? No, Canada does not have a major homegrown car manufacturer. However, it is a global leader in auto production, hosting major factories for Ford, GM, Toyota, Honda, and Stellantis, which includes Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Why doesn't Canada have its own car manufacturer? High production costs, including labor and manufacturing, are higher than in India, China, or Mexico. The small domestic market, with a population of only around 40 million, isn't large enough to sustain a homegrown brand. Moreover, Canada has historically been integrated into the US auto industry under agreements like USMCA, making it more feasible to assemble foreign brands rather than develop its own. India has its own car manufacturers due to a large market and government incentives, while Canada relies on foreign automakers because of high costs and economic integration with the US. Did India make its own COVID-19 vaccine? Yes, India developed its own COVID-19 vaccines. Covaxin, developed by Bharat Biotech in collaboration with the Indian Council of Medical Research, or ICMR. Corbavax, developed by Biological E, a Hyderabad-based company. Additionally, India mass-produced Covishield, the Indian version of AstraZeneca, which was manufactured by the Serum Institute of India, the world's largest vaccine producer. Why did India make its own vaccine? Well, for one, India has a large population and needed a self-reliant vaccine strategy to immunize over 1 billion people. Secondly, India has a strong pharmaceutical industry and is a global leader in generic medicines and vaccine production. Lastly, the Indian government heavily invested in local vaccine development through programs like Atmanirbhar Bharat, or Self-Reliant India. Did Canada make its own COVID-19 vaccine? No, Canada did not develop its own widely distributed COVID-19 vaccine. However, some Canadian companies like Medicago worked on vaccine candidates, but they did not reach large-scale production. Why didn't Canada make one? Well, Canada had a strong vaccine industry in the past, but production capabilities diminished over time due to reliance on global supply chains. Also, unlike India, Canada did not have the large-scale biomanufacturing facilities needed for rapid vaccine production. Canada chose to purchase vaccines from Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca instead of investing heavily in domestic production. India successfully developed and manufactured its own vaccines due to its strong pharmaceutical sector and massive domestic need. Canada, despite having scientific expertise, lacked the production capacity and opted to import vaccines instead. Human rights are measured by factors like freedom of speech, gender equality, minority rights, labor laws, and access to basic needs like healthcare and education. Let's compare India and Canada based on these factors. Canada's human rights record: strengths, freedom of speech and democracy. Canada ranks high on global democracy and press freedom indexes. LGBTQ+ rights, same-sex marriage has been legal since 2005, and LGBTQ+ individuals have full legal protections, Indigenous rights recognition. Canada has made efforts toward reconciliation with Indigenous communities like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Strong labor laws and worker protections. Employees have strong legal protections, including fair wages and safe working conditions. Universal healthcare and education. Access to free healthcare and education is a key human rights success. Challenges: Indigenous issues. Many Indigenous communities lack clean drinking water and face systemic discrimination. Immigration challenges. While Canada is immigrant-friendly, some asylum seekers face long processing times and harsh detention conditions. India's human rights record: strengths, democracy and elections. India is the world's largest democracy, holding regular elections. Social mobility, economic growth has lifted millions out of poverty in the last few decades. Freedom of religion and cultural diversity. India is home to multiple religions and traditions with legal protections for religious practices. Challenges: freedom of speech issues. Crackdowns on journalists and activists have been criticized. Women's rights and safety. Gender-based violence remains a major issue and laws often lack strict enforcement. Caste-based discrimination. Despite legal protections, lower caste communities still face social and economic barriers. Worker exploitation. Some industries, like textiles and mining, still struggle with poor labor conditions and child labor issues. Who succeeds more in human rights? Canada generally succeeds more in human rights, offering better legal protections, freedom and social support systems. India struggles with human rights enforcement, despite constitutional protections, due to systemic social and economic challenges. Why does India face challenges? A large population makes it harder to implement reforms for 1.4 billion people. Historical and cultural factors like the caste system and gender norms create deep-rooted inequality. Political and economic barriers, including corruption and bureaucracy, slow down progress in human rights laws. Canada ranks higher in human rights success due to stronger laws, enforcement and social programs. India, while making progress, faces more structural and social challenges that hinder full human rights protections. It's unlikely that Canadians as a whole are jealous of India's success, but there are a few areas where India's rapid growth might create some mixed feelings in Canada, where India's success might cause concern in Canada. Economic competition. India's rapid growth in technology, manufacturing and AI means it's competing with Canada for jobs, foreign investment and tech dominance. Some Canadians may worry about outsourcing or India becoming a bigger global business hub. Global influence shift. As India becomes a bigger global power, it may overshadow Canada in international affairs. Canada is a G7 nation, but India's role in BRICS and the G20 is growing fast. Talent and immigration. Canada attracts many skilled Indian professionals, but as India's economy improves, fewer people may choose to migrate, which could affect Canada's labour market, where Canada still has the edge and no reason for jealousy. Quality of life. Canada still ranks higher in education, healthcare, human rights and standard of living than India. Wealth and stability. Canada has a stronger per capita income and a more developed social safety net. Global reputation. While India is rising, Canada is still seen as a stable, peaceful and desirable place to live and work. Canadians may feel concerned, competitive or even surprised by India's rise, but jealousy is unlikely. Canada's strengths in human rights, quality of life and economic stability keep it a highly attractive country. However, if India continues its rapid growth and innovation, it may push Canada to adapt and stay competitive in the global landscape. So has India surprised Canada on the world stage? The answer is yes. India's rapid economic rise, technological advancements and global diplomacy have surpassed expectations. While Canada remains a stable, influential player, India's momentum suggests it may outpace Canada in several areas in the coming years.